are the Guinea Pig Collective. All will be assimilated. Resistance is futile.
Hey everybody, what's going on, and welcome back to the channel. So one of the things that I still hear sometimes, I get this question quite often, is do you actually have any guinea pigs? Now my channel's been up for over 2 years and I'm still getting this question. I just kind of find it funny. Something's crashing and falling. But yes, I do have guinea pigs. So we're just going to do a little bit of rundown of how the Guinea Pig Collective started and who was in it. So before I even had a YouTube channel, I did have guinea pigs. Our first guinea pig, it was a bit of a rescue story, so to speak, because he was at a PetSmart that my wife worked at, and he was going to be put down because nobody wanted to adopt him because he had some health issues. He had a problem with his eye. His eye needed constant medical attention. It needed special drops, and it needed to be cleaned out daily, and nobody wanted that. He wound up staying at the PetSmart so long that he got too old to actually sell, so they were going to put him down. We brought him home, and we gave him at least another year of life that he was not going to have in the pet store. Unfortunately, he did pass away still kind of young, and in conjunction with the eye infection, he also would constantly get a respiratory infection, which affects his lungs, so he was constantly hacking and sneezing. His name was Governor. Yes, we called him Governor because of the eye. The next guinea pig was Jackson. Jackson is predominantly what you see as my old icon with the green circle around it. In all actuality, Jackson was my first guinea pig because Gov was actually considered a family pet. And Jackson was awesome. I loved this guy to death. Unfortunately, he was another one. He developed some issues that it was much later on, and we never could figure out what it was because unfortunately, when he became very ill, there were no veterinary hospitals open on the weekends at that time, so I had nowhere to take him. So I did the best I could to keep him alive, feeding him from a syringe and giving him water through a syringe, staying up with him for more than 24 hours in the hopes that I would be able to get him to a vet in time to be able to help him. He passed away. It was not a good one, and that one actually kind of hit me hard because, yeah, I was actually holding him and taking care of him at the time when he wound up passing away. Yeah, joy. But before Jackson had passed, he was actually kind of lonely when Gov had passed. Now, Governor, when he passed, him and Jackson weren't even in the same cage. But nonetheless, Jackson became lethargic at first. He didn't want to eat. He didn't want to run around. He didn't really want to interact that much. So we picked up another guinea pig. And this guy we called Jenkins from World of Warcraft. Jenkins was actually a pretty cool guinea pig. He was a bit skittish at first, but over time he became much like Jackson, and he loved being picked up and held by me, and he just liked to hang out. He was a really cool guy. Maybe not as personality-wise as crazy as Jackson was, but he was up there. So after Jackson had passed, it had actually gone on quite a while before we wound up getting another guinea pig because Jenkins did not seem to care in the least that his neighbor was gone. But, after a while, he started, I guess, moping around a little bit, and it did take him quite a few months before he got to that point. So we wound up getting Cringer. Cringer was another guy. He was kind of left in the pet store for an extended amount of time because nobody seemed to want to adopt him. I remember seeing him in the store when he was very, very young, and seeing that he was still there, I had to pick him up and bring him home. It is to be noted now that, yes, the Guinea Pig Collective actually started while Jenkins was the only pig in the family. And it actually started as a bit of a joke because I was on a channel all the time using the arrows like I typically do when I used to moderate different chats. Eventually, it came to a thing where I started putting a guinea pig icon on there, and I decided to throw the arrow over top of the guinea pig and make him a green arrow guinea pig at first. Eventually, it wound up becoming the Guinea Pig Collective because I was in a chat one day and I said the Guinea Pig Collective will assimilate all because I was thinking about the Borg from Star Trek. So back to Jenkins and Cringer. This was many months that the two of them were kind of getting along. There was a bit of problems at first because Cringer, even though he was much smaller because he was so young when I first brought him home, he took over the role of the bully. And he was kind of messing with Jenkins, and Jenkins was pushing back at first, but eventually Jenkins was developing a lot of different health issues. Now, before I even picked up Cringer, Jenkins did have a problem where I had to get him surgery because he had a giant tumor on his belly. And this was actually very early on when I started my channel at this happened. And it was almost right after my mother had passed and I had gotten home after helping my father deal with everything that came with my mother passing. So with Cringer and Jenkins being the lone pigs, Jenkins started to develop problems again. This time it wasn't a tumor, but he started having the same type of respiratory problems at first. I was able to curb that before it got too bad, but then he started to develop bumblefoot. Now, bumblefoot is actually a swelling that guinea pigs or rabbits can get on their feet, and it makes the paws of their feet get extremely large and swollen. This is actually pretty painful. They can actually split open, bleed, and they can get seriously infected to the point where it could cause damage to the bones in their legs. So I had to remove Jenkins from the cage with Cringer, and I had to put him in his own cage. So Cringer became a little bit upset that he didn't have a buddy in his cage, so we went out to get another guinea pig as a companion with him, and that wound up being Cliff Jumper. Now, how did I come to the name Cliff Jumper? Well, Cliff Jumper, when he got in there, he began doing the same thing to Cringer that Cringer did to Jenkins, and he was bullying Cringer, and Cringer really shined at the name that he was given by being a coward and running away from the much smaller Cliff Jumper. Now, if you don't know, Cliff Jumper is actually a character from the Transformers G1 originally, who is a small red robot who turned into a small red sports car. And as the name implies, Cliff Jumper was a very brash character, jumping into situations before he even thought about the consequences. But beyond Cliff Jumper maybe bullying Cringer a little bit and taking that extra carrot away, or maybe that extra piece of lettuce away from him while he was trying to chew on it, they really didn't scuffle too bad and nobody ever got hurt. There was never any serious biting or scratching or anything like that. But unfortunately, in this time, Jenkins' condition got worse. He wound up not being able to walk. I think he started getting hip dysplasia, and it was all due to the bumblefoot that just would not go away. I was treating this stuff for months, and it just would not abate, not at all. And it got to the point where he was getting so sick and he was getting so weak that he could barely get himself up, and he was losing tons of weight. And that's when I decided that I had to take him to the vet and have him put to sleep. And that was actually not a fun experience either. So as the collective stands right now, Cringer and Cliff Jumper are the lone guinea pigs in the collective. And one last thing to add. If you're still wondering why the Guinea Pig Collective, why the cyborgs? Yes, I already mentioned that I took the idea from the Borg from Star Trek. But why exactly did I do it? Well, it was one of those things that was joked around where people would say that I was like a cyborg and that I never slept because I was on 10 million different streams, according to them. Now, granted, I was on a lot of streams. Sometimes I would be on 7 streams at once and modding 5 of them, which was absolutely ridiculous, and I don't recommend anybody doing it because it will wear you the hell out. I did it because I enjoyed all the different YouTubers that I had met, and I enjoyed helping them out in any way that I could, and that, of course, was modding at the time. So, with the whole thing that I was a bit of a cyborg and that I never slept, and then, of course, being a fan of the Star Trek series as well, it just kind of fell into place, and the Guinea Pig Collective was born, along with the saying that I use in the beginning of every single one of my videos. We are the Guinea Pig Collective. All will be assimilated. Resistance is futile. Anyway, guys, that's all I have on this one. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Were you one of those disbelievers that didn't think that the Guinea Pig Collective was real? I mean, I suppose that they're out there, and I suppose there's people that are frauds that use certain things in their name and their titles, and they have nothing to do with it, but I am not one of them. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Of course, if you like what you've seen and what you heard, go ahead and destroy that like button for me. If you are new to the channel, or if you're returning and maybe YouTube has fucked around again like they always seem to do and they've unsubbed you, we here at the Guinea Pig Collective would appreciate you subscribing or resubscribing, as it were. And always remember, guys, never let anybody tell you what you can and can't say, what you should or should not watch, because your silence gives consent. We'll catch you all next time. Later, y'all.